Hi, this is Ann Roebuck, and thank you for joining this episode of our Thought Leadership Series. Today with me, I have Amanda Gerard, who is the Director of Dining and Hospitality at the University of New Mexico. Hi, Amanda. If you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the dining program.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Ann, and it's great to see you again. My name is Amanda Gerard. I'm Director of Dining and Hospitality for the University of New Mexico. I've been at the university for over 13 years now. Feels like just yesterday I started here, but I've had the pleasure of serving this institution in our state for that long, and I really enjoy the work that I do on our campus.
Great. Well, I'm going to dive right into our topics today, Amanda. So first, we are going to talk about dining support in student success. So what are the three critical topics that are talked about when auxiliary services is on campus?
Yeah, I think that three very critical areas that we talk about often are going to be affordability, innovation, and retention and recruitment. And I think that the dining program plays such a critical role in those three subjects that we really have to stay plugged into the needs in each of those areas and make sure that we're addressing the students the way that they need to be, and really understanding the needs of our colleagues and our other departments, our institutional mission, so that we can carry forward some momentum in all of those areas. They're all critical.
I totally agree with you. You can't really ignore any of those areas and continue to have a successful dining program that supports the students.
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about communication and collaboration within the dining program, what's the best way to ensure transparency between your supplier and yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question, Anne. And I think it's something that you always have to be revisiting. And it starts with having a real handle on what are the core mission, the core goals that we're working towards. So really having a clear direction and vision, I believe that that's the cornerstone of good transparency. We both know what the expectation is, and then having the measurable sort of set of KPIs, the metrics that we're tracking, the things that we're working toward. As long as those are clear, I think the dialogue around those things can stay really productive. The more ambiguous that things get, then it becomes so subjective of someone's certain preference or taste. So really aligning on things that are tangible, I think that promotes great transparency in the partnership.
I think that you're right. That does promote great transparency. And I'm just wondering, do you bring it back to that mission alignment on a monthly basis or a semester basis? Because sometimes that view gets lost.
Absolutely. And, Envision Strategies and you as our partner were really critical in crafting KPIs that always harken back to our 2040 goals, which is our institutional goals. And I think that keeps us tracking really well. So when we are measuring and we're revisiting a KPI, which we do monthly, we're also tying back to where are we going as an institution. And that helps us communicate to leadership that what we're doing in dining is not only productive, but it also adds toward this effort to the mission of the institution.
Well, that's so great to hear. So many times we talk about KPIs and the importance, and we don't always see that implementation. So I'm really glad to hear about that implementation and that it's really working for you well.
Yes, it's been really great so far.
Another question, how do you connect with the campus community? And then how frequently do you do that?
Yeah, I am a big believer in manage by walking around, and my background, before contract management was in operations. So I'm still a table toucher at heart. So I do like to go and get out into campus to make sure that we have a presence at events, whether they're a large catering event or a fun student engagement, that we have a presence there and that we are, making sure that we build a connection, not only via surveys, feedback, town halls, the more formal ways of collecting a pulse on what the campus is feeling about dining, but we also have that organic connection, open door policies that people feel they can come into our office, and we build relationships, because the relationships will sustain you through any type of conflict or whenever you might get off course with your partnerships.
Tell us a little bit about how you build partnerships across other campus constituencies.
Yeah, I think that is such a huge part of what we're called to do for campus dining, right? Is that food is sort of the intersection of all types of people, all departments, all academic programs. Everyone on your campus is going to have some experience with food and beverage. So I think that being able to address the needs of others through our programs and through our products and services, that gives us an avenue to build relationships and to have great connections. So whether it's the Office of Sustainability and I'm able to work with them, that not only helps us collect metrics, but might help them get a better ASHE rating. Or maybe it's in an academic program where students need to do a case study and we offer them an avenue to implement their academic experience in a real world scenario. Those are ways that we're able to form partnerships in unexpected ways, and they help both of us to succeed.
Well, that's great to hear. Are there other campus departments? I know you've mentioned the academic departments and sustainability. Can you think of any others offhand that you've connected with?
Yeah, I mean, we connect with a lot of campus departments via service, of course. So we're servicing large events that maybe it's staff appreciation, right? So that's an enormous event. And we make sure that we're connecting not only with great food and great service, but also in a programming way. How can we offer our own appreciation towards staff in that instance? I think also another really cool thing that we do that's been able to bring so many different groups together is we have a dining event called Lapo, which is our dining hall's name, La Posada. It's called Lapo Goes Local. And that is celebrating Albuquerque, it's celebrating New Mexico. So that really opens the door for so many different departments to come and join us and celebrate New Mexican heritage, New Mexican cuisine, the arts. And so we've had an amazing participation over the years in that. And it always rotates. There's always someone new that wants to come and join us for that event.
That sounds like a great event to really bring in all of campus and even more of the community itself. That sounds
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a great experience. We get to introduce some of our vendor partners to the students, which is very cool. The food is coming from a local source, and they're getting to meet the agricultural community that's also servicing our campus via our food service program.
That's awesome. Now I want to ask you a few questions about overcoming complexities. So what are some of the different challenges that are arising from complexities that you have faced?
Yeah, I think one that all of our colleagues will understand is that serving broad, large, diverse audiences who have different needs, different expectations and preferences, that is one of the most complex things about this industry, right? There's a finite amount of people, a finite amount of financial resources, and you really need to address an entire huge population, right? And make sure that you get it right for everyone. So I think that's the overarching complexity of our industry. And where we really saw it play out was whenever our contract went out to bid and you're gathering a stakeholder group, right? Your RFP committee who's going to help you make this hugely important decision. And in one room, you're really seeing all of those diverse kind of voices come together, and everyone has a different expectation and opinion. And it's fantastic, right? Because you're learning right in that room about where you're doing really well, where you're missing it for people. And we get the opportunity to reset and really seek a partnership that will address those needs.
That is so true. And your program has really taken on a lot of engagement opportunities. I remember visiting and that you were having a May the 4th celebration. May the 4th be with you, which was great.
We celebrate all kinds of things, but yeah, that was fun.
Well, it's always great to provide interest into food, right? And to engage with people and bring them in different ways.
Absolutely. Food is the great unifier, right? We all come together around the table.
Absolutely. So on those complexities, I know you talked a little bit about the strategies that you employ in overcoming them. Can you think of any other strategies that help you overcome some of the complexities that you do face?
Yeah, I do think it's a little bit what we spoke about earlier, but applied in a new way, right? So when you have something that's really complex, you cannot address every single nuance to the entire machine. So pulling it apart and understanding what are the things that are critical, the need to have versus the nice to have, and really get aligned with every person who's going to be addressing this problem with you. And whether that is your departmental relationships or your partnership with your vendor partner, what are we actually trying to accomplish? Number one, is that feasible? Number two, can we consistently do that? So really understand that what you're about to commit to has to be something that you can both wrap your arms around. So that's how I think that just really kind of taking the problem apart piece by piece, understanding what you're going to be able to do now versus what's going to take a bit more strategy and collaboration for later.